been two new civil lawsuits that have been filed claiming sexual assault of female passengers on American Airlines and United Airlines. And Daisy Ayllón is with us. She's an attorney and a partner at Romanucci and Blandin. Thank you so much for your time.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
So tell us about these two lawsuits and really give us the details of what is being alleged here.
Sure. You know, we actually represent right now 3 different clients who have filed a civil lawsuit against American Airlines and United Airlines. All of them have been victims of sexual abuse. The 2 most recent ones involve two of our clients, women, who were sexually assaulted while they were on board the flight. And what's important about these lawsuits is that this is something that is systemic. It's something that has been going on for a long time. Since 2018, the FBI actually had warned the airlines that sexual abuse during flights is a problem that has to be addressed, and airlines just simply haven't taken the steps necessary to ensure the safety of the passengers. In our particular case, we have a couple of different allegations. One of our complaints alleges that our client, she was a female client, she came onto the flight, she was given the middle seat, and while she was doing her thing, there was a passenger sitting next to her who boarded the plane, and he was already visibly intoxicated when he got on board. Later, he started assaulting her, just initially by touching her, by trying to have a conversation with her, really inappropriate questions. And then that continued to escalate to where our client was sexually assaulted, and he started to touch her private areas, her genitals. The airlines, while this was happening, didn't do anything. No one on the flight did anything to help our client. And later, this particular individual actually pleaded no contest to the criminal allegations. But the reason incidents like these are happening is because the airlines are not allowing passengers to move while they're on flight, or in some circumstances, individuals start drinking at the airport and then they get on the flight and then they continue to be served alcohol. And so what we're seeing in these claims is that there's a real lack of accountability. There are no guardrails in place to make sure that women are protected. And a lot of women are suffering when they get on the flight. They're thinking that they're going to be safe. And in fact, they're in for a rude awakening because these incidents of sexual assault keep happening again and again.
When it comes to these sexual assaults, and you said that, you know, this client, one of the clients that you just mentioned there, this person was intoxicated. Were police notified right away when the plane landed? Was there police there to get on board and investigate? Did you find any of that out as these clients were telling you their stories?
It varies by client, and the facts are a little bit different. In one of the cases, our client made a police report. It's important to note that local police don't have any jurisdiction when it comes to airplanes. So typically what has to happen is that federal authorities have to get involved. And so our clients, in all of the cases, did make a police report. One individual was actually convicted. In the first claim that we filed against American Airlines back in April of this year, that individual had actually, the American Airlines had received complaints from another passenger saying, hey, this individual sexually assaulted me. So American Airlines knew that, and then they continued to allow him to board the flights. And sure enough, he went on to assault our client, who was the second victim. Then he continued to be allowed to board the flights, even though our client had already made a report. And then he went on to assault a third person. That particular case did not involve alcohol, but it did involve the airlines knowing that there are issues with male passengers sexually assaulting females and not taking any steps to address that conduct. In the 2 most recent complaints that we filed, both of our clients actually reported this to the airlines when it happened, and then later to the authorities. The individual that I was mentioning before, who was clearly visibly intoxicated, the guards actually said, we can smell alcohol because it's so readily apparent. And he went on to have criminal charges and pleaded no contest to that.
What have you heard in a response from the airlines in regards to your three clients? Have they given any indication of anything that they plan to change? I'm guessing in your lawsuits, you do have some declarations of things that you want to see changed for all female passengers.
Right. We haven't heard anything from American Airlines. They have given the generic, there is pending litigation, and we don't comment on that in some of the cases. But we haven't heard anything from them. But it's important to note that this is not the first time that they have been sued. They have been sued. Typically, what we have seen is that American and other airlines who have been sued for similar incidents in the past, they settle those claims under confidentiality. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to make sure that this doesn't happen again. And the conduct is so egregious because the airlines, as I mentioned previously, they have known since 2018 that the number of sexual assaults on board flights is increasing, and they're not doing anything. And to your point, there are a number of things that we believe the airlines should do immediately to try to protect passengers, such as allowing passengers to change seats if they feel uncomfortable, making sure that there's someone on board who is conducting assessments to see if someone on board needs help. We want to make sure that the airline employees have proper training on how to address incidents of sexual assault. We want to see changes as to how they handle individuals who are already drunk when they're arriving at the gate. And we believe that it's really important to not allow those individuals to board the flight, and when they're on the flight, to make sure that you're not serving them additional alcohol, just enabling the situation to get worse and putting passengers in danger.
What happens next? You're representing three women. I'm guessing they're all women in this case. What happens next in terms of the lawsuits?
Sure. We're very early in the process of the lawsuits. So now, from a technical side, we are going to be exchanging what's called written discovery, which is a series of questionnaires that both sides exchange. After that, we're going to get to do some depositions. This is testimony that our clients and the airlines are going to give, where we get to ask questions about how long have they known? Why were no guardrails in place? So that's the process. And eventually, although litigation is a very slow process, eventually we hope to bring these cases to trial. And by doing so, we're hoping that other women will come forward and tell their story, because it's really important. It doesn't seem, there's no requirement currently in the law that requires the airlines to report incidents of sexual assault. So what has been happening is that all of this information is very contained, and it doesn't get shared with the public. So when the public and when individuals are purchasing tickets, they don't know what risks they're facing. And so we want to make sure that passengers have the information that they need in order to be safe. And it's incumbent upon the airlines who are inviting all of these individuals to come and do business with them, to make sure that they're sharing information so that passengers know the risk and are informed, and they have the tools to protect themselves.
And we know oftentimes in depositions and also trials, so much information comes out, maybe even details that you didn't know and find out in your discovery. So this will be interesting to see how this moves forward. And of course, we plan to talk to you again. Attorney Ayllón, thank you so much for your time today.
Of course, thank you for having me.